I truly believe that music has the power to change the world, and this is what changed my world this year.
Welcome to the Caveman! And I'll form the head.
Hey guys, Shane from The Cave here. This is a list of my top 10 albums of the year. I had a few rules going into this. It had to be an album that I actually owned, that I spent money on, that I spent the time to listen to thoroughly, and it had to be one that came out this year. Pretty simplistic, right? A few honorable mentions before I get to the actual top 10. A few albums for you guys here. Foo Fighters, Concrete and Gold, a really solid rock album. Just one that I sort of, is still pretty new to me, I'm still absorbing it. A few awesome tracks from it. Run, of course, and The Sky is a Neighborhood. A very good track, especially if you pretend, whenever you listen to it, that Dave Grohl is singing the lyrics, "This guy is a neighborhood." I highly recommend doing that. Weezer, Pacific Daydream. I love Weezer. I've loved Weezer since the very beginning. I don't think they've ever put out a bad album. I think they've put out some albums that are not as good as some of their other ones, but this is a solid summer rock and roll album. I love Weezer's Pacific Daydream. The Shins album, Heartworms, the Shins album Heartworms there. Make sure you check this one out if you're a fan of the Shins. It's such a great album by those guys. Tim Rogers, one of my favourite singer-songwriters of all time, lead singer of UMI. If you're not from Australia and you don't know Tim Rogers, please look him up. Look up Tim Rogers, look up UMI. Everything this guy does is amazing, and this was a really, really good album. It was called An Actor Repairs, and one that I only picked up recently, which is why I didn't quite make it into my top 10, but Vera Blues album, Perennial, really good Australian album. Remind me a little bit of Aurora's album from last year, similar kind of vocal, similar kind of vibe, so I really like that one as well. So those are my honourable mentions. Now, on to the top 10 list. I'm going to try to get through these as quickly as I can. At number 10, Courtney Barnett and Kurt Vile, Lotta C. Lice album, collaboration album between these artists. I'm a big fan of Courtney Barnett. I loved her first couple of EPs, and her debut album, of course, went crazy big over the last couple of years. Not a huge fan of Kurt Vile, just because I didn't really know him up until this point, but I really like his stuff. I think they collaborate really well. It's just a really good, laid-back rock album. For each of these I've tried to pick out a few key tracks as well when I could. For this one, Over Everything and Continental Breakfast were probably my two favourite tracks of that album. There's a lot on here that's worth checking out. So, Courtney Barnett and Kurt Vile. That one is called A Lot of Sea Lice. Yes. Number 9, Bryan Adams, Prisoner. Again, really hard for me to pick a key track from this. Bryan Adams is an artist that I've loved for a really long time. Never really put out an album or even a single song that I haven't liked. Even like my least favourite album of his, I would still gladly play every day. He's just an amazing singer-songwriter. Key tracks on this one for me: Do You Still Love Me, Doomsday, To Live Without You, and Tightrope. So if you're a fan of like alt, country, rock and roll, just really strong singer-songwriting, Bryan Adams, Prisoner, I highly recommend that album as well. This one, a bit of a weird one. Not a weird one, but just one that not many people from Australia probably know about. It's a band called The Middle Coast. They're from Canada. I met those guys a few years ago when I saw them perform at a Fringe Festival. They were called Until Red at the time, and I picked up their EP and absolutely fell in love with it and played it to death. And now I saw them again this year on tour, and they had an album, and they've changed their name to The Middle Coast. This is called The Making Of. My favourite tracks from this album are called Every Now and Then, Paycheck, Wasted, and This Isn't Love. Just a really good, solid rock album, which is going to be my review for most of these. Just really good songwriting, good vocals, really good energy, really fun live band. If you're in Canada or wherever these guys are touring, if you get a chance to see these guys live, check out The Middle Coast. Really, really good album. All the way from over in New Zealand, Lorde, Melodrama at number 7. This is one I actually didn't pick up straight away when it came out. It sort of avoided my radar for a little while, but I finally got around to it, and I love this album. She just has a really distinct, original voice and songwriting style, and I just think she's great. Green Light, Sober, Rider in the Dark, and Supercut. My 4 favourite tracks from this particular album. If you liked her first album, you're gonna love this one. It's not a huge departure from her style, but still, like, you can see her growing and developing as a songwriter and as an artist. So I highly recommend that one as well. Okay, this is my only cheat on this list. Blink 182's California album. Technically, I know this album came out in 2016, but this is the re-release of the album that came out this year with a bonus disc, which had basically an entire another album on it. So technically, I'm reviewing the second album that came out, but just a really solid album. The first time that they've released an album since Tom DeLonge left the band, replaced by Matt Skiba. I hope I'm saying that right. It just feels like a classic Blink-182 album. I think it feels more like Blink-182 than either of their two previous recent releases. A few tracks from the original album they really liked: Good Old Days, Wildfire, and Don't Mean Anything. Those are tracks from the new album, and from the original ones, Bored to Death, Los Angeles, Kings of the Weekend, and Built This Pool. Just a really good pop-punk album with some classic vintage Blink-182 funny joke tracks as well. So if you like Blink-182's old stuff, you're gonna love this new album, Blink-182 California, as well. So put that on your list. A controversial entry, Taylor Swift, Reputation. Some may refer to this album as like a guilty pleasure album. I don't believe in guilty pleasure albums. I believe you just like what you like and wear your heart on your sleeve. Taylor Swift, I had a friend in Canada, Emma Godmere, hi if you're watching, who really got me into Taylor Swift a few years ago when, kind of convinced me that she wasn't just a country songwriter anymore. She released a really good album. It was called Red, and then a couple of years ago, 1989, really solid pop songwriting. Of course, the first couple of singles from this album, pretty bad, not very good, which made me not think this was going to be good. But giving it a couple of listens now, and I'm into this album. It's very, very heavily produced. Not a lot of like guitars and pianos on this album. It's very heavily produced, but the songwriting is still there. That's my main critique, is that it's very heavily produced as a pop album, but delicate, Getaway Car, gorgeous. This is why we can't have nice things. And the final track, New Year's Day, real standouts for me on this album. If you like Taylor Swift, you'll like this album. If you don't like her, just don't worry about it. Move on. Australian rock and roll album, just won alternative rock album of the year at the ARIAs, very well deserved. Go Farther in Lightness by Gang of Youths. I loved the first album by these guys, and this one really just is I think an even stronger album. It doesn't disappoint their sophomore effort. Great songwriting, good solid Aussie rock album, just amongst like a real, like in the Australian rock scene, a real wash of what I call wuss rock, which is like a bunch of people that sound like they're too sad to be in their own band, and that they're upset that they're in a rock band. Not Gang of Youths. Good songwriting, the solid rock songs are Fear and Trembling, The Heart is a Muscle, and The Deepest Sighs, The Frankest Shadows, my favourite tracks from that album. So if you like your good Aussie rock, get that one, really go. Just good stuff, just really good stuff. I'm just trying to keep it rolling along. Hyam, I have checked, that is how you say it, Hyam, Something to Tell You, at number 3. Just an album that there's no skip tracks. That's a common theme amongst all these albums, especially the next two. Just no tracks that are even worth skipping. It's just all solid gold. I Want You Back, Little of Your Love, Something to Tell You, You Never Know, which just sounds like an amazing, like, forgotten Fleetwood Mac track. Walking Away, and Right Now. Again, like my top tracks, I've listed more than half of the album. It's just that good. Just a good, great rock band, great voices, killer songs. Hard to pick my favorite ones, and just great. Thank you for this album. It's just beautiful. It's just great. Just check it out. Just buy it. Just get it and listen to it, and you'll agree with me. That's it. Okay, Logic. Everybody. Logic is an artist that I didn't really know about until this year, if I'm honest. I only got into him this year, but was just blown away by this album. Like a positive message, so much like. Firstly, this guy's an amazing rapper, really good flows, it's a really well produced album, just really good themes covering positive messages about race, gender, suicide, sexual orientation, and all that stuff. It's all mentioned in the song. Hallelujah, Everybody, Take It Back. The really big hit from this album, of course, 1-800-273-8255, which is the number for the American Suicide Prevention Hotline. when I first heard this song, when I first watched the video, I'll admit to you, I just bawled my eyes out. It's such a beautiful song. The video is great. And whether you like the song or not, this song has like created so much more awareness for the suicide prevention helpline in America, which is such an amazingly great thing to have done. So, you know, whatever you think of the song, you got to admit the message is top notch. Also Anxiety and Black Spider-Man, just such good tracks. And plus Neil deGrasse Tyson is on this album. It's rap meets hip-hop meets science meets intelligent thought. It's a fucking great album from start to finish. Please, just listen to it once and I'm sure you will agree with me. Okay, number one. My number one album of this year is the album that I feel I can only describe as the best Dance Your Cares Away in Your Living Room album of the year. It's Paramore's After Laughter, another band that I didn't really get into until the last couple of albums from them. It's a bit of a new direction for the band, a little bit poppier, but I just love it. It's just a no-skip album. Just each track just flows so beautifully. It tells a story, and it's an album about heartbreak and moving on and dealing with emotions and pretending you're something that you're not, and you're dealing with having a facade of being happy when really you're dying on the inside. I think there's a bit of a common theme amongst a lot of these albums. And Hard Times, Rose-Colored Boy, Told You So, Fake Happy, 26, and Grudges. Again, I've listed more than half of the album in my top tracks, but it's just such a solid album. If you want to listen to a pop rock album with some really good messages in there that's going to help you get through hard times, as the lead single, or the second single would have you know, just check it out. Okay, that's it. That's enough from me. Thanks, guys. Thanks for indulging me. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked my list, let me know in the comments below. If there's other albums that you feel like I may dig, if you see this collection. This is just stuff that I personally liked. I know this isn't going to be everybody's taste, but you know, if you've trusted my musical taste before, and I know some of you are out there, these are some albums from this year that I would highly recommend. But what were your top 10? Let me know in the comments below. Hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, and all that kind of stuff. This is Shane from The Cave. Thank you for watching my top 10 albums of 2017. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you want to help support this channel, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. You can check out some more videos from our channel right here. You can hit that thing to subscribe, and of course if you do subscribe, hit the little bell so you get the notifications of whenever we put new content out. Thanks guys.